Hello, and welcome to another segment of Smoke Signals. I'm your host for today's show, Lieutenant Chris Taylor from LaGrange Fire Department. We have a great show lined up for you. We have special guests from the Troup County School System that will be sharing information with us today. So sit back, relax, because you're about to watch Smoke Signals. Welcome back. Today we have with us on the show Mr. John Radcliffe of the Troup County School System. Hello, Mr. Radcliffe, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris.
It's a pleasure to have you here today, and I'm honored to have you here, especially with the busy schedule that you have working with the school system and getting prepared for the new school year. But I just wanted to say thank you again for taking time out to be with us, and I know you have a lot of information you want to share with our viewing audience, but before we get into that, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been with the school system, and what your responsibilities are.
Sure, thank you. I've been with Troup County now for about 7 years. I've just started my 7th year here in Troup, and I came from Jacksonville, Florida, where it's a much larger school system.
Okay.
But as assistant superintendent, I have responsibility over several areas. Maintenance, obviously operations, custodial, food service, transportation, technology, security, and energy management.
Okay, sounds good. It sounds like a lot of stuff to have to oversee on a daily basis, but I'm quite sure there's an enjoyment with that, and we appreciate you bringing your skills and your talents to the LaGrange area.
Sure, thank you.
Now, our topic for today, we're talking about emergency preparedness and several other things, and in today's age, emergency preparedness can't be echoed enough, not only around the world, but in our community. So as it relates to the Troup County school system, do you all have an emergency preparedness plan?
Yes, Chris, we work closely with the Georgia Emergency Management Agency along with FEMA as well. But we work very closely with them in developing the emergency preparedness plans, and each school has its own safety plan.
Okay.
And the reason for each school having their own plan is because of the uniqueness of that campus.
Okay.
Each campus is different. There's different nuances for each area, and we try to focus on that there. In addition, what I brought with me today is some of the items that we have in each classroom. We have a staff emergency procedure that's located in every classroom, so either a teacher or even a substitute in the event can grab that book and know pretty much what to do.
Okay.
We're scheduled to update that book this summer and this fall when the principals come back and the teachers. And then we have an additional one that's up in the front office, which is a little bit different, has all basically the same information, but this is for the administrators and for the staff up front to respond to any kind of an emergency that we might have.
All right, sounds good. Well, and it's good that you have these guidelines that the staff can kind of follow whenever you have whatever type of emergency that may come up, and it's good that, and I noticed the uniqueness that each one of them are red.
Yes.
Is there a specific reason?
Well, to stand out.
Okay.
There's so many classrooms that are typically in our schools are basically white or cream colored, but we want these to be able to stand out so that you can grab them pretty quickly.
Okay.
And again, these are more general in nature. These forms here, each school has a very specific emergency preparedness plan, emergency management and response plan that they will follow as well.
Now, since we're talking about the emergency response plan or emergency preparedness plan, how is this information echoed throughout the school system as far as your staff and teachers and things of that nature?
Each year, as the teachers come back and we have new teachers come on board, we provide some information and training on this. The idea is, and during the year we do first responder training and safety training, normally about October, November, when things settle down a little bit. We'll bring a group in, and we're really trying to get as many as we can trained in first response and emergency response as well.
Okay.
We're doing a pretty good job with that.
That's good.
And then with the parents, we talk to, when they come to the PTO meetings and things like that, and we'll send some things home. Some schools will send some information home. But because of the uniqueness, we're there, we're with the kids, and parents entrust us with their kids every day, their children, and what we want to do is make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure they're safe and secure when they're with us.
Now, since you talked about getting information out to the parents, let's say, for instance, if they can't come to a public gathering or a PTO meeting or something like that, is there other ways that parents can actually get this information on how the school system is you know, set up to protect their children?
Again, I think some schools will send some information home to parents. Not all schools do.
Okay.
You know, we have a robust website. We also have a robust a social media site with Facebook,
Okay.
and we try to give information through that. Again, we don't get into real specifics because our emergency plan, our safety plan, is for we don't want that out.
Right.
We don't want to, you know, we want parents to understand and know that their children are safe when they're with us, but we don't want to put those plans in the wrong hands.
Exactly.
And circumvent what we're trying to accomplish.
Exactly, and it's very understandable. Now, let's talk about, kind of break things down a little bit from emergency preparedness. Let's talk about fire safety. How is fire safety handled with the school system without, you know, just a kind of an overview without giving a lot of details?
Sure. We follow the state guidelines and recommendations on fire safety. Within the first 30 days, we have to have 2 fire drills at every school that has to be reported to Atlanta. Within the first 10 days, we have to have 1 of those.
Okay.
So within the first 10 days of school, beginning August 10th, we have to have our first fire drill all the way across the board. And that's to get the little ones, you know, accustomed to what do we do.
Right.
If the alarm goes off, here's what we do. We go out orderly.
Okay.
We gather at one particular place, and you know, we do that every month after that. Every single month there's a fire drill, and that has to be reported to Atlanta, to the department facilities.
Okay, and in coordination with the fire drills, I'm quite sure weather-related type drills are also acclimated into that as well.
Yes, we have the National Severe Weather Week that we participate in.
Okay.
With tornado drills and what should we do in the event of a tornado.
Okay.
Major winds as well. You know, we may not get a tornado, but real strong winds can cause damage as well. It doesn't have to be a named storm or anything like that.
Right, exactly.
We try to keep the children protected, get into hallways, lock the doors, close the doors.
And as we know, living in West Georgia, we have had our share of weather-related incidents.
Yes.
And it has been either wind-related, tornadoes, high floods, because of course we remember the flooding that we had a while back, and those kind of things. So and it affects the school system, especially when it's during the peak of the school year. So we commend you all for having, you know, those plans in place, because those are things that we must take priority over when we do have those type of incidents, so everybody knows what to do, where to go, and what we need to do after the fact. Now, let's talk about school buses. Now, we get into that time of the year where school buses are going to be running up and down the road carrying our precious children here and there, and we want to just kind of let our viewing audience know about things that they need to be aware of as it relates to, you know, school bus safety.
Great. Traffic patterns are about to change. You know, we've had a nice summer. We've been able to go where we want in the morning and get there without traffic. Beginning next week, teachers come back. That'll put about another 1,000 cars on the road within the LaGrange, Troup County area.
Okay.
Following that, starting next Friday, I believe it is, we'll start sending the buses home to the park outs. And then, of course, on Wednesday morning is the first day of school. There will be a lot of traffic on the roads. And the thing that we would ask is that everyone, parents, people going to work, are very careful during that Wednesday morning. That's the first day back to school. We have a lot of children who may not have been to school before or are new to our district.
Right.
And you know, one of the things we try to focus on is safety during those first couple of weeks of school.
Okay.
It's very different than what it is right now.
Right.
The school buses, you know, we're very fortunate. We have good drivers. You know, we have a state champion in our midst with one of our drivers in the rodeo, so they do very well.
That's awesome.
We score well above 99% in our safety inspections for our buses. So the community's been very kind to us with their SPLOST initiatives, and we've had some new buses on the road as a result of that initiative.
Okay. Now, one thing we do want to let our viewing audience know as it relates to the school buses, you know, it said the routes are going to change, but there are going to be some delays in the first couple of days of school, so they need to be aware of that.
Yes, we still have some issues with parents who don't notify us that they've moved, or that they're going to they want their children on the buses, and so usually about that first 10 days of school, we don't do a lot of route changes because we let that settle in.
Okay.
And then we begin to make those route changes. We have kids that we have to pick up. We have students at another location that we have to pick up. So there are a lot of adjustments in that first, I'd say the first 10 days of school, where we're going forward and picking up either new students that we haven't had before, or increased students where some bus stops, we were expecting 10 kids at a bus stop or 10 children at a bus stop, and all of a sudden we've got 20.
Right.
So, you know, the buses fill up pretty quick when we do those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's understandable. Now, as we continue to talk about emergency preparedness and the different types of emergencies, how is the staff trained to deal with emergencies such as fires, active shooter events, and weather issues?
Let's take those individually. Fire, we go through a fire drill. Our administrators know exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to get to the students out of the building to a designated location. Okay. Within each individual plan, if it's a major disaster, there's an off-site relocation place where we send the parents to pick their kids up. Okay. They should not come to the school. Okay. They go to this other location, and we'll direct them. And we work very closely with the police department, the LaGrange Police Department, Troup County Sheriff's Office, in developing some of that. Okay. And so they know what to do when we follow the NIMS, National Incident Management System protocol. Chief Knight's right there with us on that, Chief Deckmar, and certainly Sheriff Woodruff. Okay. Very closely aligned with that. When we talk about active shooters, we use one of our schools currently as a training facility for all of our local law enforcement. So they're going in training in the event that we ever have an active shooter. Okay. They're at an empty school. I spoke with the sheriff last week about the possibility this year of maybe expanding that to a live event, including our students, our staff. Okay. You know, 20, 30 years ago, we didn't think we'd be training on that kind of thing. Exactly. In our environment, even though this is LaGrange, it's a great community to live, it's a quieter community, we have to be vigilant and make sure that that happens. And he's even made the recommendation that we expand that to the other agencies, include West Point, include Hogansville, the State Highway Patrol, so that when we respond, when that day happens, we'll have a complete and total response package. Okay. So we're looking forward to that to this year. And of course, we'll communicate that with parents so that they know it's going to happen on a certain day. Right. And
as well as the media.
Exactly. Make the media know, so that there's not a panic with that. Right. Superintendent is very, very clear on his desire to make sure that that's, you know, that those safety programs are in place. Right. Okay.
Now, what best advice can you give parents who wants to come to the school and pick up the children if there is an emergency?
You know, it really depends on the emergency. Certainly, we don't want to deny anybody the access to their children. I understand that. I put 2 girls through school. I have a student in elementary school right now. My own child's in elementary school. The idea is to make sure you're communicating with the school where we can. If we have an actual emergency, our staff is focused on the safety of the children and the students. If we go into lockdown, that means we're locking the school. We have the students locked away in a safe place. We should not be opening the doors for anyone. Once we get the all clear from the sheriff's office or the police department, then we'll allow parents to, if they want to take their children, come and get their children. Okay. I think that, you know, as a parent myself with a young son in school, I want to know that those doors are locked, that child is placed somewhere out of harm's way. Exactly. And you know, in this environment, we don't. It's paramount that we know exactly who's coming to pick up your child or my child. We have rules for that, so we follow this very carefully and closely.
All right, sounds good. Well, Mr. Radcliffe, you have provided us with a wealth of information as it relates to emergency preparedness and the things that the school system is doing to ensure safety amongst the students as well as the faculty. And we just want to, thank you again for you all's efforts, and anything that we can do as far as the fire department to assist, feel free to give us a call and just let us know what we can do to help.
Oh, thank you. You've been a great help for us all the way through, the entire staff. And the only thing I would leave today with is please, on August 10th, slow down and watch for the kids out there.
Exactly. All right.
Okay.
Well, we have gotten a wealth of information from Mr. Radcliffe from the Troup County School System. But right now we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more here on Smoke Signal. Welcome back. My next guest is Miss Yolanda Stephen from the Troup County School System. Hello, Miss Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and we look forward to having you here in the near future. We got a lot of great information that we want to share with our viewing audience, but before we get into that, if you could, just tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been with the school system, and what your responsibilities are.
Well, my responsibilities with the Troup County School System is Director of Public Relations, and I basically get out the good information and the information that parents and our employees need to know, work with the Community Partners in Education program. I also work with the media a lot, and we put on special events like Teacher of the Year, and then I'm here as well. So this is great things that we do to get information out to the community to let them know what's going on in Troup County School System, especially with school starting back soon.
Okay. And how long you been with the school system?
I'm going into my second full school year.
Okay. Cool. Good to have you here. Now, of course, we was talking about emergency preparedness in the first segment with Mr. Radcliffe, and right now we want to talk about the school system from a public relations standpoint. And as it relates to public relations, can you tell me how is it important how important is it for parents to be aware about emergency preparedness?
It's very important because it's a relationship that we have with their children. So we want the parents to understand and to know what we do as a school system to make sure we're prepared to take care of their children, not only as far as education is concerned, but safety as well. So I like to split it up into those two buckets. I like to think about, what can parents expect from Troup County School System when it comes to communication about emergency preparedness, and then what parents need to do because it's that working relationship. From us, they can expect to have communication. You may not think as a parent or a family when you sit back and you see something or hear something, you go into that mode of protection. But from a school system perspective, we have steps in place, as Mr. Radcliffe has talked about earlier, and once a decision is made, those steps go into place. And part of those steps is, well, let's make sure we get this out to the parents. If it's only impacting one school, we make sure we get it out to those particular parents at that school. Then we also put it out on Facebook if we need to, which is our social media, and we really have good traction there because we see parents commenting, we see parents asking questions, and it's real time. So that's a good thing for us.
Sure is.
We also put information out on the website, so troup.org. We encourage our parents, our partners, anybody who wants to learn more about the school system, they need to go to our website, and it's updated on a very regular basis. So we have troup.org, and then each school has their own website where they get out information to the parents as well. Now, when it comes down to a very, very big emergency, we use One Call Now when we want parents very quickly to know. So that is what we do and what they can expect from the school system to make sure that they receive that information as soon as a decision is made. Now, from a parent's perspective, they have a role in this as well. The first thing that we really need from a parent is to make sure that their information is updated, not only their address, but also the phone number. As I mentioned before, we use One Call Now, so if we don't have the correct phone number for a parent, they may hear it secondhand, and then you get into, well, I wasn't informed. So at the end of the day, we just need to make sure that we have the correct phone numbers or contact numbers for the parents. Then from there, they need to wait to hear from us officially from Troup County School System to see what they need to do next. I really enjoyed listening to Mr. Radcliffe talk about, if it's a big emergency, there may be a meeting point for parents. Well, if we have your contact number, we can call you and let you know exactly where that meeting point is. Because our first focus is on the students. So when we're focusing on the students, it's hard to just pull one thing for one parent, and it's not that we are trying to ignore or be mean. This is our procedure, and we have to make sure that we're taking care of all students, and from here, this is where you go. So to get that information out appropriately, we want to make sure that we do that and follow those procedures, as well as keep the parent perspective in mind and keeping them informed, so they feel like, you know what, they do know what they're doing.
Sounds good. And as you mentioned about having up-to-date information, and you know, that is very, very crucial in today's society. You know, because you definitely want to inform as many people as possible when there is a call to action, if I would say. And having an update telephone number or address, and you know, that being a parent, those are things that it's automatic. You ought to be able to make sure that if you have a child in the school system, you want to be reached anywhere at any time, any given day, when it relates to your child. And having that up-to-date telephone number, and of course now we're in the age of cell phones.
Yes,
so,
that's correct.
So it's a little bit different now, and some homes don't even have a home phone anymore.
That's right.
They use a cell phone.
They use a cell phone.
So,
that's right.
So you know, making sure that the available information is in the database, and we understand people addresses change,
Right.
people's cell phone numbers change. So whenever that takes place, they need to make a habit of making sure that, hey, I need to call the school system and let them know, hey, we just changed addresses and we've changed telephone numbers.
Right, and the good thing about that, we're in an age of immediacy. We want information right now, and there are different ways that we use to put out that information. Number one, again, Troup.org. We also use our Facebook page, which is Troup County School System, and then we also have the One Call Now. That's from a district perspective, but each school, each teacher, they have their method as well. So you may see each teacher has a Remind 101 where they talk about there's a test on Friday, and then the principal may send out a Remind 101. There are PTO meetings, there's newsletters, and then there's always email, which is kind of slowly dragging behind text nowadays. But you still see them come through, and we have our staff that really checks these different ways to communicate and keep that line of communication open with the parents. So it's important we use all of those things to stay informed.
I just happen to think about this, apps. You know, apps are becoming very, very popular. Is there an app that you all have as well?
Not currently.
Okay.
Not currently. So that's something I can't even say if it's in the works right now, but we don't have it currently. We strictly rely on our website and our Facebook page. But going forward, if that's something that we hear from parents that they would like to have, then we will do that.
Okay, sounds good. Now, what can they do when there is a weather-related incident from a communication standpoint? Because, you know, like we mentioned in the first segment with Mr. Radcliffe, we are immune to weather here, whether it's extreme heat, whether it's snow and ice, thunderstorms, and which severe thunderstorms and flooding is probably one of the most popular in our area. Weather-related incidents, from a communication standpoint, what do the parents need to be aware of?
They need to be aware that we are watching those things just like they are. We receive weather alerts. We have weather radios in our buildings, and we work with the emergency preparedness plan that we have in place. From a communication standpoint of, is school going to be closed? Okay, they need to be on the lookout on Facebook, on the website. We also let the papers know if the schools are going to be closed. If it's something that happens during the school day, that, you know what, we came to school, clear and sunny skies, which can happen in Georgia, and then during the school day, clouds, thunder rolls. They need to be on the lookout on website, on Facebook. And if there is something where a school is closing, we will do One Call Now. So when we do that One Call Now, we will say the next steps. We'll tell, these are the next steps. This is what we need you to do as a parent. This is what we're doing as a school system to ensure the safety of the students who are your children. So.
Okay, sounds good. Avenues of notification, and I'm quite sure there are parameters that you have to notify parents in emergency situations, and there's certain procedures that they need to follow because, you know, I understand when an emergency comes up, if you hear it on the radio, you see it on television, it's an automatic panic for parents. And one thing that, you know, they need to do is sit down, think, use the resources that are in place so that it makes things a little bit easier for you all in transition and getting the information out to the parents. So notification in emergency incidents, how does that work?
Well, one thing as parents that we want to protect our children. I'm a parent, I have 2 kids in the school system. First thing I want to do is protect my children. So I'm listening, I'm looking, and as a parent I'm thinking, well, what would I want to know? That goes through my mind before I send something out, before it comes out of the public relations office. As a parent, what do I want to know? If I need to meet at an alternate location, I want to know that. If there's a certain time that I need to be somewhere, I want to know that. I want to know what the issue is, what's going on, who's handling it, and who can I talk to. If it's something like emergency preparedness, where it's let's say an incident of a fire or anything of that nature, I want to know what was going on, but I also want to know that my kid is being taken care of. Okay.
Yes.
So when we make those phone calls, when we do the one call now, or if a parent hears from a school that this is what's going on, the parents need to follow the directions that were given in that particular message. I know that's hard to do as a parent. It's hard to let go and let that happen.
Yes,
but
yes.
It's something that needs to be done, because at the end of the day, when we have our staff that's focused on all students and the phone's ringing and they're trying to get kids out and the phone's ringing, it disrupts an already chaotic situation.
Okay.
So it's not that we don't want to keep parents involved or informed, we do. It's just we have to follow those particular procedures. And one thing, before I started working for the school system, because this is my first stint in education, I came from nonprofit, I also came from Fortune 500 company, and one thing that I thought about, well, why can't they let me know right now? And one thing that really pulled together was, you know what, there's a lot that works behind the scenes. So if there is a weather-related incident, if there's snow or if there's hail or something like that and there's damage and we have to make adjustments to the daily schedule, that involves transportation. So we need to make sure that transportation is on board. When are the buses going to be there to pick up? Because as a PR person, you don't want to say, oh, your child's going to be home at 1 and they really get home at 2:30.
Right.
So we have to make sure that everything is in place before we put that word out to let parents know what to do and where to go.
Okay. All right. Real quick, you're over a particular program in the school system, Partners in Education. If you could kind of tell us a little bit about the program and who are some of the partners.
Well, we have over 230 partners, and we are always excited to get new partners on board because each one of them brings a different perspective. We have a lot of faith-based partners, but then we have a lot of civil partners as well. So we work with LaGrange Fire Department, we work with the Sheriff's Office, the LaGrange Police Department, and Civil Defense, and there are many, many more. But what happens when it comes to emergency preparedness is making sure that our students are prepared early.
Right.
So when something happens, or if something does happen, whether it's at school or at home, they know what to do. Okay. They can go into that mode. So we have Sheriffs for a Day that really impacts our 3rd graders, and that starts at an early age. We also have the DARE program, Junior Deputy, and I know the LaGrange Fire Department comes out and has the stop, drop, and roll with the students from pre-K to 2nd grade.
Yes.
And so those are all great things that we have to make sure that our students are prepared. We prepare our staff and our employees, but from a student perspective, we want them to feel safe in an environment where if something were to happen, they would know what to do.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to become a partner with the school system, how can they contact you?
We have a simple one-page form on Troup.org where they can just go to Partners in Education. Once they go to Troup.org, go to Partners in Education, and it's a one-page form. But then also on there, it talks about the program. You can see pictures. It tells what you can do as a partner, because a lot of times you hear, well, I'm not sure what I can do, and it's part financial, it's part being there, it's part having speakers come to the school. LaGrange Fire Department comes and do stop, drop, and roll. There are different programs that can take place to make sure that the partnership is working on both ends.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds great. You had a lot of great information to share from the perspective of the
School system. And communication.
Yes, communication. It just slipped my mind there for a moment. But anyway, we thank you for sharing that information with you, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. We'll come back. More on Smoke Signals. Welcome back. We had a great segment today with our special guest from the Troup County School System, as it relates to emergency preparedness. We hope you enjoyed the show and take heed to all of the emergency preparedness and safety information for going back to school. And also, we'd like to take this time to thank each and every one of you for watching another segment of Smoke Signals. Until next time, take care.